all of the fundamental planets have aligned. Bitcoin's been acknowledged as the one digital commodity in the world by the administration. The banking regulators have given a green light to bank Bitcoin. The accountants have upgraded the accounting to fair value accounting. There's been a surge of Bitcoin Treasury companies. There's like 100 public companies or more that are holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and every single week there's another announcement. I think that, it used to be we're focused on the halvings, but at this point, the entire natural supply of Bitcoin is only 450 Bitcoin available for sale every day. That's sort of about $45–50 million a day at this level. That is all being consumed by the Bitcoin treasury companies, and the Bitcoin ETFs are coming on strong. So I'm very bullish. My forecast in July of last year in Nashville was Bitcoin's going to appreciate 29% a year on average for the next 21 years. And that moves it from, it was about mid 65,000 to 13 million a coin in the year 2045. I'm getting more bullish on that forecast, but I'm certainly comfortable forecasting 30% a year ARR on average for the next 20 years. I think Bitcoin's up 57% a year for the past 4.5 years. Again, that's double the Mag 7. That's quadruple the S&P. That's 8 times real estate, and bonds are down 4%. So Bitcoin is smashing everything, Joe.
Welcome back to the channel. Aaron here from the Bitcoin Bros. You saw in that clip that was Saylor saying he's extremely bullish on his $13 million Bitcoin price prediction. The companies are coming in and putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They're all following strategy, and we're going to be getting into some strategy updates, some Bitcoin treasury company updates here today. So make sure to stay tuned throughout the entire video here. So we talked about this in our live stream a little bit yesterday, but the Stride IPO upsized from 2.5 million to 11.76 million shares at $85 a share. So they raised $1 billion from Stride STRD. Saylor and Strategy, they're going to take that $1 billion and they're going to use that to buy Bitcoin. So we have a $1 billion Bitcoin coming from Strategy very soon. And if we look at the most actively traded US stocks here today, Strategy still coming up here in the top 15 at around $1.71 billion of actively traded volume at the time of this recording. And if we see where they're ranked and the top market cap companies in the US, they're currently at 95 with a $105 billion market cap, sitting at around 378. And this is really important because we could see an S&P inclusion in Q3 based on their ranking here. That's how much funds they'll get allocated to then go and buy Bitcoin. So that is a huge catalyst that we have coming for the rest of the year. As long as Bitcoin ends Q2 pretty well, Q2 is going to be June 30th. So as long as the Bitcoin behaves for the rest of the month or potentially goes up, that's going to be a good indicator that Strategy could get included in the S&P in either Q3 or Q4. So that is something to watch out for there. And then Metaplanet was some huge news. They issued 555 million shares of moving strike warrants, expected proceeds of around $5.4 billion to buy additional Bitcoin. This is huge. This will be Metaplanet's biggest purchase as of yet. And you can see on this news, Metaplanet is up pretty big, up 26% today. So if you guys have been following our channel and you got into Metaplanet, congratulations on those gains that you have been seeing recently here, up 25% today. That is just astronomical gains from Metaplanet. And they updated their Bitcoin target. They now target 210,000 Bitcoin by 2027. The Bitcoin gold rush is on, and Metaplanet is trying to attack as hard as they can. They're looking to obtain 30,000 more Bitcoin by the end of the year. That's in the next 2 or 6 months there. And then 100,000 next year and 210,000 in 2027. So if they can achieve this, we may not see the 70% drawdowns in Bitcoin with the 4-year cycles like that we have seen in the past. They may have just canceled the bear market. That is huge from Metaplanet there. And congratulations to any of you guys that got into MTPLF. And then we have Bitcoin Treasury company Trump Media registers up to $12 billion in new securities and a new S3 filing. So Trump Media, they're going all in on Bitcoin, and they're looking to raise up to $12 billion to buy BTC. So they've already raised $2.44 billion explicitly to buy Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin appears 362 times in the new filing versus the last one. Is this still a media company, or is this a Bitcoin acquisition machine? So more potential buys, $12 billion potentially coming from Trump Media to flow into Bitcoin. The Bitcoin gold rush is on, guys. These companies are trying to accumulate Bitcoin as quickly as possible at the highest level of volume as possible. And we have No Labs. They announced their Bitcoin treasury strategy, and they hold 1,000 Bitcoin. So with No Labs, this is an interesting one. I just checked it out very briefly here. Haven't had a time to dive deep into it. But their market cap right now, they're up here around 70% over the past day since they have announced this. The market cap is only around 6.59 million. If they actually have 1,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they are highly undervalued. So that's something to watch out for. KNW may be one of the biggest gainers over the rest of the year if they actually do have 1,000 Bitcoin. This is not financial advice. I have not dove deep into this company. This is just at first glances since they've announced this morning. And then we have Bitcoin miner Kango. As of June 5th, our weekly Bitcoin output was 106 BTC, increasing their holdings to 3,504.1 BTC in line with their HODL strategy. 0 Bitcoin were sold. So understand one thing, guys. When we hear Saylor and all these talking heads talk about there's 450 Bitcoin that are output every single day from the miners that are sold onto the market. But one thing we have to keep in mind here is a lot of these miners, a lot of these huge mining companies are not selling their Bitcoin. They're holding the Bitcoin for the long term. So in all reality, there's not 450 Bitcoin that are sold out into the market every day because we have companies like Kango, like Marathon, that are actually holding a lot of this Bitcoin for the long run, guys. So something to think about there. But as we see all these companies buying Bitcoin and we're seeing the miners not sell it, there could be a huge supply shock that's coming very, very soon for BTC. And just to talk a little bit more about some of these companies and how much Bitcoin they're buying, you can see this chart here shows Strategy, Metaplanet, Saylor, altbg, KULR, and SWC. These are just some of the Bitcoin treasury companies that are trying to do what Strategy has done. But the key figure, you guys can pause and look at this. We showed this in the live stream yesterday as well. But the one thing I want to talk about here is how much Bitcoin they're buying every single day on average. And you can see that right here. The Bitcoin bought per day, you get 330 from Strategy, you get 21 from Metaplanet. This number is probably going to balloon up after they buy all that Bitcoin that they're projecting to buy. You have 12 from Saylor, 7 from altbg, 5 from KULR, and 2 from SWC. But if you add all this up, you can see this is going to be somewhere around 360 to 370 Bitcoin. And that is being bought up every single day from the miners. And that is just these companies. There's more companies with the Bitcoin treasury strategy that's coming. And this is still very early for these Bitcoin treasury companies. But as you can see, these companies alone are buying up almost all the Bitcoin that is produced from the miners every single day. So that's all I had for today's video. A lot of exciting news. These Bitcoin treasury companies are performing very well. And I think that continues to happen if Bitcoin's price continues to go up. But there is a clip here from Cathie Wood that I wanted to play for you guys at the end. Check it out. And if you found any value in today's video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. We have new content coming out every single day. And we have a couple of huge interviews coming up over the next couple of weeks. So be watching out for those on the channel as well. But let's go ahead and get into this clip here from Cathie.
The $100 billion that I mentioned, institutions have to either take up those newly minted Bitcoin, and that's going to happen over years and years, or they'll have to pay up to get holders to sell it. So again, scarcity value will drive, or will increase because of the supply demand imbalance, with institutional investors really having very little involvement yet. And so we think this is just the beginning.